evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
This is going to be our reaction to episode 5 of Secret Invasion. This one is called Harvest. Not really sure. Oh, Harvest. Yeah, we'll get into Harvest. But we want to address what's going on with the SAG AFTRA. We want to talk about what's going on with the SAG strike and the WGA strike. We have been contemplating about what we're going to do from our end as fans of the things that are being struck right now, and the companies and the IPs and things that we love. We're waiting for a more concrete definition of what SAG is asking for. We have been doing it all along with the WGA because they haven't asked for anything specific. But SAG had started asking for the things specifically. Because of our size, we're very small, and we are coming at it from a fandom point of view, and have never been paid by anybody ever to go to an event or a screening or anything. We have decided to continue on with what we love to do, which is talk about the stuff that we watch.
Yep.
That being said, we are 1,000% behind the writers and the actors and everything they're trying to do. What the producers are asking for is too much, and not giving up any kind of concessions at all is just downright terrible. And we have friends in the industry who are not actors, who are not writers, who are directly affected because everything is shut down.
Yep.
If we come to find out that we feel icky about doing this, continuing on with what we're doing, we will pivot to something else.
Or if SAG comes out with some more, like right now, it's all still fairly new. They haven't even been striking for a week yet.
Yeah.
So if they come out with some more guidelines that impacts us, then we will change.
But since we are not creators for profit, that's not our main income. In fact, it's no income. We just do this because we love talking about this stuff. We're going to continue on. With all of that being said, let's get into this episode called Harvest of Secret Invasion. I'm going to say I've been loving this show. The ratings aren't very high. A lot of outside factors are part of that. One of them is the strikes that are going on. And Bob Arginer needs to just shut his pie hole for about 5 minutes. But I've been loving this show. The tone of this episode, at least my initial thought, the tone of this episode feels like there's a lot to wrap up in episode 6, and that there's maybe something else that they are working towards outside of what this story is.
Well, I've kind of felt that all along, right? I mean, everybody slept on What If and said, this is dumb. It has nothing to do with anything. And then for like the next 3 movies, we were like, you didn't watch What If, you're going, what?
Right.
So I've always felt like this was going going to tie in somewhere else. At least to one other movie, but potentially, a couple others like What If did. But I've been excited about these last 2 episodes because we've been all along. We've been like, is this real? As far as like Fury, just completely out of the loop and not knowing, and what is and isn't going on with the Skrulls. Olivia Colman's character, director,
Sonia Fallsworth.
Fallsworth, that's right.
Fallsworth.
So, is she a Skrull? Isn't she? Whose side is she on? So, all of those threads are beginning to get tied up,
Yeah.
And so now, Now it's like, well, okay.
They're getting tied up, but not in a bow. Like there's still
Yeah.
some string attaching thingies that
Yep.
needs to be going on.
Yep.
But I definitely feel like the way this one is, this was instead of the next to last episode. I'm not going to call it by the other word. It's a stupid word. If the way they've been setting up the series is for one big confrontation, and I felt like this was going to be the setup for that confrontation, and it is. There is definitely a setup for this confrontation that's coming between Gravik and Fury.
Right.
But this was not that episode. This episode was dealing with everything that's happened up to this point. It's burying Talos. It's Priscilla coming to terms with why she loved Fury and why, and it's Gaia coming to the realization that she's a petulant teenager who doesn't understand what the world is,
And all of Gravis's followers realizing he's a zealot.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what he said he wanted for everyone was really just all about him, and he's willing to kill everybody to prove that.
Yep.
Which the rest of them were just like, we just want to be able to wear our real faces and live here, or find a place we can live.
Yeah.
And he's like, bomb them all. I don't care, just as long as I
want
the
superpowers.
harvest.
I want
Yep.
superpowers.
Yep.
And yeah.
Which is a whole nother thing, right? That could, I'm assuming, this could be wrong, but I'm assuming that he doesn't get a hold of it because that would make him the new big bad, right? A super duper scroll.
Scroll Supreme, I think is what they called them, in something like that in the comics.
Yeah.
We're not coming from the comic point of view, although we're going to talk about something that comes from the comics. But yes, it's something like that.
Well, and we already have a couple of big bads, right? So, I mean, anyway, if they don't give him, Fury ends up not giving him the harvest,
right?
It's still out there,
right?
And they could give it to somebody.
Yeah.
On the good side.
Yeah. Sonya.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, Sonya's not a scroll.
She's not a scroll.
But, so give it to a non-scroll.
Non-scroll who can be, that Fury can trust.
Yeah.
Or at least as it's currently set up, can trust.
More Olivia Colman.
She is amazing in this show. Her matter-of-factness when she shoots the doctor was just like, yeah, man. Men in this of my planet do the same thing. Like, gaslighting, bang! I was like, whoa! I didn't know we switched to She-Hulk all of a sudden. Like, Jesus Christ,
she's amazing.
I want her and She-Hulk to have a conversation back and forth with each other. Okay, let's talk about the big thing about this episode is the harvest. They finally said what Gravik was really looking for, and that is the DNA of the Avengers.
Yep.
And I love the way they explained it, that in the battle for Earth, several Avengers bled on the battlefield. And that blood was collected by those who could sneak in and collect it. Which was led by Gravik, which is where he gets the idea to build the Super Scroll machine and do all this stuff.
Yep.
And and he name drops only Carol Danvers, which that could be a different. That's the only one he name drops.
Right.
But the idea of that is straight from the comics.
I don't remember Carol bleeding.
Off the top of my head, I don't either, but she did get power punched by Thanos.
She did.
So, and that battle is hard. It's amazing, but there's so much going on. It's hard to keep track of all the different things.
But if the Marvels,
yes,
is before
this, yeah,
and then you have her and
Miss Marvel and Photon.
And Photon, all three of them potentially bleeding at some point, because I mean, obviously
there's going to be something going on.
there's some stuff happening, and they could have gotten that too.
Yeah. It was a subtle introduction to the concept of there's a much bigger thing going on outside of what this show is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And when they just finally came out and said Gravik is looking for the harvest, the DNA of the Avengers, to make super supreme uber oh my god scrolls that are all powered by the Avengers DNA. That's a scary proposition.
Yeah.
Now, we have tons of scary propositions in the MCU as we sit right now, but that idea of anybody could be superpowered and we're not really sure what side they're on, including their own side.
Right, which kind of like if they gave it to somebody on our side would make more sense. Right, because if this is the only vial and now people know about it. I mean, Gravik knows about it, Fury knows about it. Many of the other Skrulls who aren't necessarily as wackadoo as Gravik know about it, and now Sonya knows about it. It would make sense. It might also help them with fighting against some of the big bads that are out there going forward.
Yeah, coming forward. Yeah, this has been the running joke since the Fox got bought out by Disney. This is the introduction to the X-Men.
Maybe.
They're going to have to explain it at some point in time. But the idea of the DNA of superpowered people from Earth and other places being on Earth, and the idea that DNA can be spliced into someone else is an interesting concept of doing it. Now, it's reversed in the comics. In the comics, the X-Men powers are the X-Men DNA is in their powers is taken by the Skrulls, and the Skrulls do their impersonation of those characters throughout the series.
Okay.
That's what the whole Secret Invasion comic run is that each of the ones that have been replaced all start becoming known. And the first one to be known was Elektra. And so we know what's coming with Deadpool 3 and Elektra possibly being in it, it would just be kind of an interesting kind of tie-in to kind of like, no, this Elektra is actually the real Elektra, but there's another Elektra out there who's a Skrull. It could be a very interesting, kind of tie-in for what the comic is. Yeah. But I don't think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I think what the story is a misguided zealot wants to be more powerful than what he is to get revenge on someone he thought wronged him, and that is that's where it feels like it's going.
Yeah.
And in that zealotry, he tried to collect a bunch of people around him doing the cult leader kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's all them. And then when he finally started killing his own, they all went, hold on a second.
Yeah. You're not on the same side as we are.
Yeah.
We're not all playing the same game.
And that ties into Priscilla not following the orders because she actually does care for Fury, and the whole conversation that she has with Gaia, which also Gaia following the zealotry that is Gravik, but then coming to a realization with her conversation with Priscilla that she doesn't really, she doesn't even know the prayer for the funeral scene for her father.
Because she was a small child when we saw her in Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, Ms. Marvel, Captain America, Captain Marvel.
Captain Miss Marvel America. Chavez. The thud. But even even the realization for Gaia is interesting, that she, like, I want to live in my own skin is what she really wants. But what that really means, she doesn't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And does she? I mean, probably, but like she said that to uh, Priscilla.
Hmm.
She asked her if Fury ever
Gaze on you in your true form or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah, for hours or whatever. And Priscilla was like, "None of your damn business."
Right.
And like, I don't know, just her not understanding that there's more. She's young, right? So there's more to life than this cause that you think is everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think um a lot of disillusioned youth feel like they are being manipulated, controlled, overbeared upon by elders, because the elders have been through the fires, the wars,
Yeah.
the fights, and all that stuff. And when they tell them, no, this is actually a better path because we walked the other path and
Yeah.
it was bad,
Yeah.
and this is a better path. And a lot of young people are like, no, you can't tell me to walk this path
Right.
because you don't know.
Right.
Which is a fine line that we're dealing with that right now in modern world, real world
It's
stuff.
always.
But it's always been that way.
Always.
It's always been the older generation telling the younger generation you're doing it wrong.
Right.
And there's a fine line between older generation just telling kids that you're doing it wrong because they don't like it, and the older generation telling the younger generation, no, don't do it that way because that leads you down a path of destruction.
Yeah.
And as we sit right now in the modern world, we have this. I don't understand Gen Z, millennial, older millennial, halftime millennial. I don't understand any of that stuff. But the young generation, the early 20s generation who's coming up now, is walking that line of telling the older generation, your old ways of the world don't work for us.
Right.
And so there is a bit of that conversation going on in the real world with us right now, where the older generation's like, no, 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 you can't do it that way. And the younger generation going, no, 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 stop telling me what to do. And it's really a hard line to walk. I love that they addressed it in this episode, and they've addressed it throughout the series, that Gaia has been misled of what she thought she wanted.
Right.
And
well, and
she's starting to own it.
It's it's the same as what, like you said, what's going on, in the real world, that what she wants isn't necessarily wrong.
No.
But it's not everything. And it's not you have to, like Priscilla, kind of, there's give and take. There's a balance, and you can't just say, I want this, and blinders, and nothing else matters, and nothing, because you lost your father.
Right.
And that mattered.
Yeah.
And so would you rather have lived on this planet as, in a human form and had your father, or lived on this planet in your scroll form and not had your father?
Right.
And that's where you're at now.
And I love that they address that too, with Fury going to the original meeting place of the scrolls in Russia, and like Fury telling her he died for what he believed in, not like she was like, he died in a foreign planet on a foreign road with foreign people around him, and he's like, no, he died doing what he thought was best for his people.
Yeah.
And that is the most truest form of being a good person. Is really what I think he's trying to say. He doesn't say it in those words, but I'm projecting. But that's how I feel like. No, he he died doing what he thought was best.
Yeah.
That matters more than where you die.
Right.
Or how you die.
Right.
And so I think that was a first kind of the crack in. Okay, it was not the first crack when Garrick shot her.
Gravik shot her. Yeah.
Gravik shot her. But that's like another crack in the wall for her. And then she has this whole long conversation with Priscilla at the house, and then the amazing firefight.
Yeah.
The best shotgun in the freaking planet. But there's just another example. She's like, no, I don't. That's not working for me anymore. And then I don't want to say that she's done with the show because she's
who?
Gaia.
Oh, okay.
Because Priscilla drops her off somewhere, and she's like, "I'll put on a brave face, and you'd be safe, and you'd be safe."
Yeah, yeah.
And then they kind of part ways, and we don't see him the rest of the episode. It doesn't. I don't want her arc to be done because Talos is dead.
Right, and I
don't think that's what's going to happen. But
yeah, I have a feeling she might show up at the Russian scroll base place because she does know where it is. If she gets.
She might be the new leader of the Skrulls.
Yeah?
Being the one who's like, here you can be in your true face, but we can play both sides of the road.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the news is out there, right? Everybody now knows that there are
Skrulls on the planet.
Way more Skrulls than anybody ever thought. So that's out. That cat's out of the bag. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, you've got the Gravik, Fury thing, Fury put on his old coat and his old eye patch and his old hat, and he
put his battle armor on.
Yeah, so Fury's back. So you've got that to tie up. You have the fact that all these Skrulls are now known, so you kind of got that to tie up, and then Rhodey. What are we gonna do with Rhodey?
And you have the whole Rhodey thing. Rhodey. I love Fury trying to tell the president, even though he was unconscious, to not trust Rhodey.
Yeah,
that he's a Skrull, and then the nurse is not a Skrull. The nurses were not Skrulls. That's just nurses. Like the nurses rolling him into like whatever. You have clearance, and that's legitimate. Like that's like a legitimate thing. That conversation can be done.
He's the president of the United States,
right? But I love if Fury did have that level. Not anymore. And then I love him going to grab the chair and sitting in front of the doors.
Yeah.
Guard. And then his whole interaction with Rhodey, like he told him, "I'm gonna shoot you, make you your real form," and then Rhodey pulled the trump card, like, "No, everybody knows that you killed Maria Hill now," and so
right. Except that was his leverage over Fury. So now that he's released that.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any more leverage over Fury. So if the two of them meet again, Fury's just going to shoot him.
Fury's going to shoot him. Right.
Yeah.
Right. He's already got that black mark on him as it is.
Right.
But Rhodey going to the president and instituting Gravik's plan of bombing the farm to start the nuclear facility that all the Skrulls are staying at. It's leverage on Fury with Gravik trying to get them to try to get the United Nations to blow up where all the Skrulls are is leverage over Fury. But if they actually do it, it's the leverage he wants for World War III.
Yeah.
And because the Russians are going to retaliate because they bombed Russian soil.
Right.
And it's just going to be a whole thing. And then Sonya didn't know that Rhodey was a Skrull. So she agreed with Rhodey. Right. And backed up the United States, England backed up
the U.S.
The U.S. because she shot her boss, who was a Skrull, who was
and then got an instant promotion,
who was Vincent Van Gogh,
Vincent Van Gogh,
Van Gogh, who was in the show for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But I just it was that whole interaction of. Gravik's plan is to start World War III at all cost for his utopia. And whoever happens to survive through that utopia as Skrulls is what he wants.
Right. And he's going to be the Grand Skrull Poobah.
Grand Skrull, Supreme Poobah, whatever. Last thing I really want to talk about is Sonya addressing it. Why haven't you called your super friends?
Yeah.
and that's been the conversation through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And Fury explained the process of he is now Tony Stark. He created the monster that is now trying to destroy Earth.
Right.
And so it is now personal because he's no longer just trying to save Earth. He's trying to save his wife and his family.
Yeah.
And the people the scrolls that he cares about.
Yep.
And so he feels at his level that if he cannot beat Gravik with what his single mother gave him between his ears and what the woman of his life with the ring around his finger, then why am I doing this?
Right.
And so he's making it so internalized that he is not allowing himself to say, he's not allowing himself to say, I need help.
Yeah.
Sonya was standing there saying, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
And she helped by driving him to freaking Finland.
Right.
With I have a whole contractor theory about the Batcave and Avengers Tower, where all this like secret stuff is. Like, there's thousands of contractors have to work on this stuff. Nobody said anything.
No.
There's one Marvel fixer.
Yes.
So we got to keep that secret, which was awesome to see him. But there's one Marvel fixer.
His plane was a definite upgrade from the last plane we saw him
right.
deliver.
Well, they did make the helicarrier joke. The helijet.
Helicarrier. It was a helicarrier.
Not the carrier. The jet that...
Oh, the Quinjet.
The Quinjet, yeah.
Yeah. When he tried it.
I had all the right words, but not connected to each other. But the Quinjet that he gave to Black Widow,
yeah,
that's an upgrade from the jet that they had. But Fury's making this personal stand to stand against Gravik is very strange to me. Like, I've been saying since the start, if Fury beats Super Skrull Gravik on his own, it cheapens the Avengers that he put together. Now, everybody's been through the fires of the blip, so there is definitely a thing with that. But that a lot of people don't want to fight another war after going through a war,
right?
And so there's a little bit of that. But this idea that it's personal for Fury makes it much more acceptable for me that he hasn't called in help.
Maybe Fury takes the harvest.
I have a theory. I am not the only one to have this theory. But there is a theory that I and others have been running through on the internet where there's two Furies. There's our Fury, our Nicholas J. Fury, that's our guy, and then there's Skrull Fury. And that there's a reason why he keeps acting strange from one part to another. Now, some of those parts was just Fury kind of just doing the spycraft thingy or whatever. But I feel that there's been a long discussion about, is there two Furies? And if there's two Furies, is one of them Talos' wife?
Right.
And she's going to take the Super Skrull serum, and then she's going to be the one who gets it avenges Talos,
right,
by killing Gravik.
Right.
And so
maybe
that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also accepting now that Fury, because it's so personal, Fury's going to do something that's going to pull something.
Yeah, but yeah.
Or he shows the harvest vial and throws it on the ground and cracks it into 1,000 pieces.
Maybe.
And then Gravik, in a rage, tries to kill Fury, and then there's shenanigans afoot. But I do want to talk 1 second about this show has been shot so freaking well.
Yeah.
It looks amazing, but just the Gravik on the phone with Fury and the bays at the factory, was just Kingston just walking back and forth, and just like perfect lighting and just some of the overhead shots of the different cities. It's been really, really good.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
That is our thoughts on episode 5 of Secret Invasion called The Harvest. Let us know what you thought of this video. If you have an opinion about what we're continuing to do because of the SAG uh, strike, the SAG and writer strike, please be nice in the comments, but tell us why we shouldn't be doing this as fans. And we are open to that conversation. And if you even want to say, hey, we understand, I'm not going to watch it for right now. They haven't called for a ban of things that are on streaming services or production companies as of yet.
Yep.
So please be nice. Like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and follow us on all the social media stuff: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.